Hi there. I wanted to talk to you today about my little project. I'm in the Pacific Northwest doing an off-grid project, but it's sort of unique. I've heard of some other people doing similar projects, conducting off-grid cabins and alternative systems, electricity systems, water systems. This is my project now. I I had the fortune of when I bought this land, this cabin was already here, um, and so I already had a existing structure basically. That being said, I didn't have anywhere else. I had my truck, um, and this cabin that you see here was really rustic. It was had been sitting for a long time. As I said, I'm in the Pacific Northwest, so we get a lot of rain here, and it was very not waterlogged, but it was just wet in here. You could feel it, and there wasn't any mold on the walls. I don't know about behind the walls. I haven't detected that yet. However, I really did have to dry the place out, and the floors weren't finished. They're still not finished actually, but I have installed some hardwood oak floors um, that still need to be sanded. I just laid them in, nailed them down, and so they haven't been sanded or finished yet. But so this is my basic structure. Now the sort of mission statement of this whole project is um, to build using as few new materials as possible. So I've had a lot of stuff given to me. I'm a carpenter, and I have an advantage there too because obviously there's a lot of stock and a lot of dunnage that I get as the result of different projects I've done and gotten compensated to do. Um, I don't work all the time. I'm not like a 40 hours a week type carpenter. Sometimes yeah, and sometimes actually more than that. But then I'll take time off to come do projects such as the one I'm doing now, or even take time off to do other adventurous stuff that I like to do. I love to fly fish. I'm a saxophone player. I've got a number of hobbies I enjoy doing. I bike. I've done some long distance hiking, and I would like to incorporate a lot of those types of activities to this channel that I'm creating. Um, so hopefully I would get some footage of me hiking various trails or taking various bike rides. I live in a beautiful place. I bought this property it's in a place in the northwestern Washington. It's on the Olympic Peninsula. It's kind of considered the northeast side of the peninsula. I'm not going to give my exact location right now, but and so there's a lot of opportunity. There are a lot of opportunities here to trails. The property trails and outdoor um, opportunities. I mean everything from skiing to hiking to biking to beach walking to fishing to just about any. If you're an outdoor adventurist or an outdoor enthusiast, this is a good place to be. And my property here lies in a place where it's kind of convenient and off the beaten path at the same time. The highway isn't actually too far from me. You can actually hear the cars sometimes, but I also, yet it's as soon as you go off and drive back to my property, there's woods everywhere. I mean, it goes on seemingly endlessly, and it's the same thing on the other side too. It's just woods forever. If you go off on the other side, you would go up all the way into the Olympics. You could get to the Olympics and the Olympic National Park from here. On the other side, it's just forest and public land, logging land, but lots of forest and lots of roads and lots of trails. So all around me, I mean, I've got basically my own private trails, you know, like I've got my own personal private trails here. I mean, I don't own them. If you get back far enough, it's off my land and stuff. But I can go for a long ways and not be trespassing or anything like that. So, yeah. So my goal here is to build as many structures and an off grid, you know, somewhat sustainable situation that incorporates as many given, used, gifted, recycled, repurposed materials as possible. So far, you know, this cabin was here, but actually, you could consider that it is actually repurposed, considering that it was here, right? So it's like it's been here for a while, and it wasn't being utilized that much. And had I not bought it, it might have even been torn down and trashed, you know, which is something that happens common these days, right? We tear down a house or we tear down a cabin in multiple places, and then just, you know, a lot of those materials just go to the dump. Not always, and people are starting to think more about that kind of thing and conserving, especially with the cost of supplies these days and materials. But so this place, you know, I basically kind of saved it, and in addition, I'm doing an addition onto this cabin, and it was actually a shed, which I'm kind of proud of, because around here we have a joke about people who live in sheds. The cost of living is quite high, and there are what we call shed boys, and who actually live in pretty much the people who actually live in pretty much makeshift sheds or stuff they throw up, you know, pallets or various odd kind of structures, which is great, you know. Actually, back in the day, because I grew up in this area, there used to be an area in the town near where I lived that it was just forest back there, and people actually built all kinds of homes, just makeshift homes and stuff, non-coated. You know, whether or not, I don't know if they were squatting there or if they owned, some of them probably owned the land and that kind of thing, but it was actually common. I think they started doing that in maybe the 60s and 70s, and a lot of those structures were torn down in favor of owners coming in and property values and them getting kicked off of those properties, I assume, and or forced to move out, or maybe some of them sold their properties because they became valuable, and those structures got torn down, I'm sure, inevitably, and were torn down, and probably the lumber was thrown away. But my opinion is that there are a lot of materials which could be salvaged these days, and it may not be cost effective to do that, of course, which is why it tends to happen, right? It's labor intensive to have to pull nails out of things, and it's difficult to have to, you know, take all those materials apart, possibly clean them, you know, get them in shape for building. But then again, if you're building a small structure, it doesn't require as many materials, and building and living in a smaller structure is actually more sustainable, because it's less to heat, it's less to build, it's just less costly overall, and more manageable, I would say. So I will show you the structures, that the exterior of the structures at another time. I just wanted to make this first video, and as a sort of introductory, as sort of an introduction to what I have going on here. I was going to consider using a new app called Chat GPT. I just heard of it. And as sort of an experiment, as sort of like maybe a essay experiment or a thought experiment, I was going to actually this program, if you haven't heard about it, and I don't even know if I'm supposed to talk about it on here as if I'm advertising for it or something, but I'm not. This isn't an advertisement for anything. But this program, you can basically ask it about something informative, and you can get very specific, and the program will respond with specifics itself. It's actually, you know, the program has the capability to write somewhat long essays even about various subject material found on the web, which is where where it sources this app sources information on the web, and but across many different apps and informational sources, online sources. So I asked it a question today. Perform an essay or perform an introduction for a YouTube video about, you know, living off grid, and it spat out this essay, basically an introduction, or pretty lengthy introduction for YouTube for me, but I don't have access to that right now, and I don't think I'm going to use that in this first video. However, I'm just considering it, and I wanted to sort of throw, if anybody sees this, sort of throw it out there as a interesting idea, and I would be open about the fact that I was using it too. You know, I would cite it and everything, and I would say, hey, I'm using this just for fun, just to see if an app can be descriptive enough to sort of make a YouTube video or a YouTube channel interesting at all, or you know, a portion of the channel, because obviously I'll be doing a lot more. Yeah, and so my sort of mission is to show you. My mission is sort of to show. Yeah, so my mission is to sort of show me building this place and sort of the process that happens there, and anything that happens in and around the property, some of the landscaping, some of the people I bring by, some of the help I may or may not get with this project. But then in addition, I want to take some adventures. I fly fish a lot. I don't even know how many. I mean, I've caught thousands of fish over, you know, the years of my life and stuff, and I'm pretty good at it. So I spay fly fish also, but I do more traditional nymphing and dry fly fishing, mostly for trout. I lived in Montana for 15 years, and so I did a lot of fishing out there, but I've done it my whole life. You know, I started fly fishing before I even moved out there when I was in my early 20s. I think I started fly fishing when I was 19, but I'd always fished with lures and bait and stuff like that before that. But I'm pretty much a purist now. I don't really tend to use anything else but a fly rod or a spay fly rod or a Scandi rod or whatever. So a lot of salmon, a lot of steelhead, tons of trout. Oregon, Washington, Montana, Idaho, BC, Alberta, Alaska, California, Iceland. Where else? I've fished in France. I've fished in not Mexico yet. Not a lot of warm water species. I sort of have an honor thing just to myself about cold water species. Not that I'm never gonna go warm water fly fishing. I might try it. I might do it. But I love my salmonids, the salmon, the trout, the steelhead. Yeah, those are my faves. So I guess that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and subscribe and like if you so choose. Appreciate it.